So, Dan, where exactly are we going?
As she, Dan, and Bill zoomed by in Dan's old Pontiac.
Sorry, Sandra, can't tell ya, but when we get there, you'll be thanking me.
So they drove on for a couple more miles. Finally, they arrived at an old abandoned warehouse.
Okay, Dan.
As the three got out of the car,
Why the hell did you bring us to this shithole?
Dan stood and closed his door.
The reason is because this place right here is haunted.
Sandra and Bill looked at each other, Dan sensing their disbelief.
No, really. There are all sorts of stories about this place. Here, I'll tell you guys one.
Oh, goody.
Okay, it all started a year or so ago. Some kids were using this place as a sort of hangout or something. So, one day, the kid heard a noise come from the back of the warehouse. Said it was a crashing sound. Yeah, like something fell over or something.
Yeah. That doesn't mean it's haunted. Could mean a rat knocked over a paint bucket or something.
Dan still didn't listen and continued on.
So they sent one of the kids to go check it out, right? Well, after a couple minutes, the kid doesn't come back. Now they are getting scared, thinking something could have happened to him. So they're getting ready to go and look for him when all of a sudden, he just runs straight to them. Now when he appears, his arm's all bloody, scratch marks on his shoulder, a black eye. The kids ask him who did this, but all he said was, a ghost. That face, that damn face. So the kids leave, and they take their friend back home to his house, tell his parents about how now they end up shipping him off to some psycho, ward-up state. But the weirdest part is that a lot of people who have passed by this warehouse say they see weird stuff through the windows, eyes peering out at you, a smile of maniac. But no one has actual proof of it's true, except for now because we're going to get to that proof.
Sandra and Bill looked at Dan for a second until they both started to bust out laughing.
Oh my God, Dan. How stupid can you be?
They laughed for a minute on, then finally cooled down.
Oh, you're done?
Sarcastically, of course.
Well, I guess since you don't believe me, I can go in on by myself. Besides, you guys are practically afraid of your own shadows. A little abandoned warehouse would scare the living shit out of you.
So, Dan went to the back of the car and pulled out a camera he had.
Oh, and don't expect to ride back home either.
Bill and Sandra now jolted into listening. Dan looked back at them with a sly smirk on his face.
I am your only ride and I'll be guarding the keys in my pocket at all times. So if you want me to drive you back home, you have to come.
You son of a...
As he pulled his fist back,
no warehouse, no drive.
Bill and Sandra grunted and slowly followed him to the warehouse. Bill turned the handle to find the door was locked.
Well, it's locked. Let's go.
Bill stopped as he saw Dan pull out a screwdriver and jabbed it into the lock. He twisted for a couple of seconds, then the door popped open.
You were saying, Bill?
The three slowly walked in. At first, all they could see was pure darkness except for the light beams from the window above. Then Dan took out his camera and turned the light on.
Well, let's start. Okay, Sandra, you go look in the back with Bill. I'm going to look and see if there's a basement in this place. Remember, the creepier, the more likely haunted it is.
And with that, the group parted, with Bill and Sandra rolling their eyes.
Well, might as well look around this place.
He and Sandra walked off into the warehouse. Meanwhile, Dan skimmed the walls until he found a two-gated door. He used his screwdriver on the lock and found it was opened.
Well, there you are.
He says he flashes the light down into the darkness below. He slowly walks down the steps, but a couple of stairs down, he stops. Along the walls are carvings of some kind.
Weird.
He said as he continued his journey down.
Can ghosts physically do that?
As he complimented on that, he suddenly slips on something and falls, losing his grip on the camera in his hand and plummeting into the darkness. As he finally hits ground, he let out a
Son of a bitch.
He slowly rose up, his entire body aching and covered in something. He crouched down and dipped his fingers into the liquid substance on the floor. He held it up to his nose and sniffed it. It thought he couldn't tell what it was that he was now covered in. He looked to see any light coming from his camera. None was visible.
Damn, must be broke.
He turned and walked into the corridor at the end of the stairs when he walked straight into a door.
Damn it!
He yelled as he rubbed his now throbbing nose. He stood and grabbed for the handle of the door and found it easily pulled open. He walked into the basement, now skimming his feet along the floor to make sure he didn't fall. His foot hit a snag or something, and he lifted his leg over it. He skimmed some more and found another snag, then another, until his head skims along a string of some sort. He grabbed the string and looks up to see that it was, in fact, a light switch.
Oh, thank...
His voice flutters as he lowered his gaze to the room. Blood, one covered word, the most descriptive one to descript, but he saw blood spread across the walls, some in a splashed against patterns, others in handprints. Pictures hung from the walls, the pictures of hundreds, maybe thousands of children. Some of them live riding a bike, some showing them crying with blood covering them, and others just lifeless corpses. Dan slowly steps back, not able to comprehend the gore that laid in front of him. As he does, his foot hits another snag. He looks back to see what it was. He vomits while also letting out a gut-wrenching cry. He stood there, puking and crying at what he saw. Behind him lays the mutilated bodies of a little girl as the tears started blocking his vision. He can see more poor children, some missing limbs, some with eyes gouged out, some even with the face of panic that they once had left on their faces. Dan slowly trembles as he remembers something. He looks down at his hands and his back. With both blood wrenched, he rips off his shirt and wipes his hands on it, then wads it up and throws it in the corner. He lets out wail after wail as he sees the poor children. He slowly and carefully steps over their bodies, trying not to cause them any more distress. He stops and wipes his eyes. He is halfway to the door when he hears footsteps. He wipes off one last tear and listens as the footsteps get closer.
Bill!
He yells,
Sandra? Is that you? Just don't come down here, okay?
Footsteps continue to get closer.
Bill? Sandra? Don't... Just go away!
He yells, yet still the footsteps get closer.
Get away. Just fucking go.
He says, tears streaming down his eyes. He covers his eyes.
I can't look. It's so horrible.
Suddenly the footsteps stop. Dan wipes his nose.
Guys, just
A knife seemingly comes out of nowhere and jabs Dan in the neck. He tries to wail out, but a hand covers his mouth. As he slowly dies, all he sees is the face of his killer in front of him. White skin, black eyes that bore into your soul, and a goddamn awful smile.
Shh. It's okay, my friend. It's nappy time. Close your eyes and go to sleep.
As Dan falls to the floor, his last thought of how devilish and horrifying that thing says those final words, "Go to sleep." Meanwhile, up top, Bill and Sandra spend their time lounging on the many leftover gates and merely tap on the wood.
Man, how long has Dan been gone? I just want to get the hell out of here.
Oh, don't worry. Let him play with his little camera and let him see this is all bullshit. Then later, we can all discuss the subject together of how much of a dumbass that he is.
Bill can't help but grin and nods. So they spend time talking randomly, switching gates. Soon though, it seems like Dan is never coming back.
Bill, how long has it been?
Bill looks at his watch.
An hour? What the hell, Dan?
He yells into the expansion of the warehouse.
That's it. I'm sick of this. I'm gonna go look for him. You coming, Sandra?
Sandra shakes her head.
Nah, I know Dan. He always plays jokes like this on people. You go, and I bet he's ready to scare the shit out of you.
But Bill doesn't care. He just wants to get the hell out of here. So Sandra just sits there and occupies her time by humming or picking under her nails. You know, miscellaneous crap like that. So after a couple of minutes or so, she humming a tune she was listening to the other day when she sees a figure across behind the crate.
Dan, over here.
She yells. The figure doesn't appear.
Hey, Dan.
She yells once again. Still no response. Sandra grunts and get up.
Dan, I swear, if this is a joke where you pop out at me, then you can kiss your sorry ass goodbye.
She walks for a while until she arrives at what she thinks is the middle of the warehouse.
Dan, where are you?
She asks to the nothingness in front of her. She looks through the area until she sees a figure standing in the shadows of a huge gate.
Dan, there you are. Come on, let's go find Bill and get out of here.
The figure stands there motionless.
Come on, Dan. There's no such thing as ghosts. I don't even know why we came here.
The figure slowly comes forward.
I believe you.
As he emerges, sees the killer's face, she steps back in terror.
Oh my god.
I do believe you. There are no ghosts. Those are fake terrors. Imaginary. Thought up by those who mistake them for the real terrors. Now think of real terrors, like me. You can see me, touch me, hear the words I speak now, and now I will unleash some terror on you.
The figure slowly pulls out a knife. Sandra turns and runs, but is tackled by the killer. He pulls the knife and lunges it downward. Bill is at the front of the warehouse, looking for the basement Dan was talking about, when he hears a loud screeching coming from behind.
Sandra!
He yells and runs back to her. When he arrives, he sees her. Sprawled on the ground, executing from her back is a knife. Embedded in it the color red from what could only be hundreds of kills. Bill slowly walks over to her, then falls to her side.
Oh, Sandra.
As tears start to stream down his face,
You know,
a voice from behind him.
the other one's dead too.
Bill looks back and sees well, he doesn't know what the hell it is. Some demented person is his best guess.
Don't worry, you'll soon be with them.
Bill turns and pulls the knife from Sandra.
You did this. You bastard, I'll kill you!
He yells out as he rushes the man. The man ducks as he swipes at him, grabs his hand, twists it until a sharp cracking sound emanates from it. Bill lets out a wailing of pain and drops the knife. The man elbows him in the stomach and throws him to the ground as he retrieves the knife.
My poor, deluded-minded friend. Can't you see? You should be happy. I'm ending all the suffering the world might bring you.
Bill jolts up in an attempt to tackle him, but he just slashes his arm and knocks Bill back to the ground.
away from those who deceive you, who think that just because you have a different look and mindset than others, then you should be locked up.
Bill tries to spring up at him as he kicks him down, laying his foot on Bill's chest.
All the other people who think of your face is different and you have these so-called torturous fantasies, then you should be put into a psycho place.
Bill kicks the man in the nuts, and in return, he lands a fair kick Bill's face.
No, I'll never be locked away, never imprisoned. I'll live my life out here, fulfilling my fantasy of sorts.
He leans down and stabs the knife into Bill's heart. Now, says the killer, losing his anger tone and turning it into one pure frightening agony.